Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eternal Spring. I am Paul Throt, and I'm here once again with my wife, Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello.
Um, Today, we'd like to talk about a topic that's related to our last video, which was about tipping. In this case, about cash and why and when you'll need cash and how you can get it. Mexico is still much more of a cash-based society, I would say, the United States is. I feel like much of the Western world is going to cashless payments for everything. Um, Not so in Mexico. So, what are some of the scenarios here? When might one need cash?
So in bigger restaurant or in a lot of restaurants in bigger
Mhm.
stores, actually even in smaller stores, you can manage to get by with credit cards. But if you want to buy anything from street vendors, whether that's, food, jewelry, art, blankets, those kinds of things, are mostly going to be cash only. If you go to, a lot of the kind of traditional mercados in Mexico, you're going to want cash for those types of things. You're going to encounter people just coming around to tables in restaurants if you're sitting outside that are either selling something or playing music or asking for change. So if you want cash for those types of scenarios, you're really you're gonna want to have some small bills and some coins handy for those types of things.
Yeah, so we should talk about that a little bit. So, obviously, Mexico's on the peso. Today, it is about 20 times the US dollar, right? All right, let me see if I get that backwards. There's formats there. Um, yeah, $1 is 20 pesos.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I'm always confused with it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So, often, oftentimes, a lot of the things you mentioned, if it's people selling or begging or a street performer of some kind, change is always good. We talked about the beggars in the supermarket in a recent video. Same thing. If you're going to be paying for street food or something at a market where they take only cash, bills are going to be the bigger deal. Now, it's very hard to get change in Mexico. And
Mm-hmm.
and one thing we've run into multiple times is you might be at one of those markets. It could be a pop-up market, that they have on corners or at parks, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a lot of the times. And you want to buy something. Maybe you're buying a little piece of jewelry, which is pretty inexpensive, or whatever it might be. And you give them some kind of a bill, which is not a particularly big bill. And they have to run off to find change from one of their friends nearby in a different tent or whatever
Mm-hmm.
stand. So the trick is getting change. And
Yes.
this is depending on how much time you're there, this is going to be very difficult. We have a long-term plan. We're going to get a local bank account, be able to walk into a bank. And having never done this, I don't actually know how this works. But in the United States, I used to work in banking, and coins come in rolls, and you could buy them in bulk amounts, and we could get all of the change that we want and have them in the apartment. And every time we go, grab a handful or whatever. But that's not the case today, and it's not going to be the
No,
case for most people. So,
because
how
the ATMs are hit or miss. The problem with the
right?
ATMs, well, obviously you can just put your American debit card in any ATM and it should work fine. It always has for us.
Right.
But if you take out, 1,000 pesos, which is about $50 US,
Right.
you might, if you're lucky, get 10 100 peso notes, which has happened sometimes, but
Yeah, I was
more
going to
often than
say,
not, you're going to get two 500 peso notes, which in most places are still much too big
yeah,
to break.
I could be wrong about this. I shouldn't even say it out loud, but I think the 500 peso note might be fairly recent.
Oh,
But it's
interesting.
certainly not welcome, regardless of that fact or non-fact. It's not welcome in a lot of places. It's not a lot of money, you
Right.
know, but you give it to someone on the street, and more often than not, they don't want it. It's too big. It's too hard to break that down to give the change.
Mhm.
So what have we been doing as kind of a strategy? Because it is really important to have change because you never
Mhm.
know.
So my main strategy is to start with the ATM, but expect that you're going to get, these big bills at the ATM. And then Usually if you go to an OXXO or a corner store, which you're probably going to do fairly often because you might want to buy water or sparkling water or snacks or, whatever little things. Those stores tend to have more change on hand. So if you're buying something smaller, you can give them a 200 or 500 peso note and then get the change. And then even going forward, break stuff down smaller. If you have a 200 peso note, the next time you buy something, use that one. So, ideally what you want is for a lot of things is change and 20 peso notes, because 20 pesos is about $1. So if you're going to use that for, a tip or to buy something small, you've got that. But at least the 50s, 100s, 200s, a little bit more acceptable.
Well, if you're going to buy food or something like that, the strategy is kind of the opposite as we know it in the United States. We never want to have change, so you might, if given the chance, you could put change in a box where it's going to go to some charity or something at a restaurant, like a fast food restaurant or a little convenience store, whatever. In Mexico, you're always angling for more change. So if it's possible, instead of scrabbling together the coins you have to make the payment for the water that you're buying at OXXO or whatever it might be, you actually give the guy a bill that's going to be too much to get the change because you want to keep collecting the change because you want to have it, right? I mean, we're still working on strategies for street beggars and that kind of thing. But yes, I mean, the reality is eating out, depending on where you are, I would say Roma Norte and Condesa, you're going to see a lot of this, especially in the places that are frequented by expats. And we're still working on it, like I said, but I mean, you'd like to be able to give them something. Some people are selling things that we don't necessarily want. That could be flowers or cigarettes or candy or whatever. I had a shoe shiner approach me in a restaurant the other day, which my shoes can't be shined, and he started to shine them anyway, which was not great. You want to have that available. That's all. So I think it takes a little bit of a mental shift if you're coming from the United States, or I would imagine Canada or Western Europe, whatever, where the goal is often to get rid of the coins. Whereas I think in Mexico, the goal is to collect them because you'll want them, need them.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. If somebody, is next to your table in a restaurant and they play a song on their guitar or whatever, it's certainly polite to give them a little something, and you want to have that available for those situations.
Yeah, I may not want the music, but oftentimes if Stephanie's back is to the musician, I'll see them walking up and I'll say, you might want to get some coins ready. We're about to have a show, that kind of thing, just to be prepared for it. So, all right. So I guess that's the deal with cash. You're going to need it, and preferably in coin form if you can get it. Good luck with that. So we will be back soon with another video. Thank you for watching.
Bye.